Where we know that in general practice, if you apply a low-carb keto approach to people with diabetes, then you'll reverse half of those people's diabetes. And so what we do in our work is called implementation science. We know this works, how can we get anyone to do it? A reason that's important now, and what I'm going to talk about is fasting, is we don't have any implementation science. We don't know if we go, hey, have you heard about this? Stop eating. Whether anyone would actually do it, which I think is an interesting idea. We stop eating for the day, you can try these different flavours. And in fact, the most commonly studied form of fasting in the scientific literature is called alternate day fasting, which I find really weird. First of all, it sounds like it sucks. So you have no food every other day, and on the other days you just eat whatever you like. Which really misses a whole bunch of the principles that we would adhere to around whole food and that sort of thing. So, but many of you would have tried this time-restricted feeding. And we do know that when you restrict that eating window, you do eat more than you otherwise would have in that window when you eat, but you don't make up for the calories that you've missed. It's possible to do it if you try hard enough, but on average, when you study people, they don't do that. We know that you're better off eating a decent breakfast and missing dinner, but we know that behaviourally that sucks. And so actually behaviourally it's easier to miss breakfast, late lunch and have dinner. Mainly because you're more insulin sensitive in the morning, and no matter when you eat, you're always hungrier at night than the morning. So, this person's lost a lot of weight in the first instance over months doing alternate day fasting. It looks like they've gone on holiday and cut loose, and then they've said, bugger it, I'll have a 7-day fast now and just not eat anything. And that's a reasonable idea. I mean, you could do that. I've done that myself. I've tried it. But there's a lot of debate in that field around muscle mass loss. Particularly if you're older and you haven't got that much muscle mass to start with. Can you intersperse it with protein? Can you go for some smaller amounts? On one hand. On the other hand, does it have these massive regenerative effects for your immune system? Or can you use it like you've seen Sirona and Dr. Matthew Phillips and the extraordinary results they get at the very hard clinical end with severe terminal illnesses, about solving those. You've seen his work with Alzheimer's, you're losing your brain, therefore your soul. Is it worth it? Yeah, maybe it is. Who cares about the muscle mass at that point? So that fits into Glenn's nutrition data. I just think there's also so much we just don't know about fasting, which is so interesting because it's the most ancient nutrition practice, isn't it?
Right. Most important point there is that there are lots of different ways that you can do fasting. You've got the 5-2, you've got the 12-hour fast, you've got the 16-8, you've got the 24, you've got the alternate day fasting, you've got advanced fasting, you've got OMD, which is 1 meal a day fasting, so a lot of people just have dinner every day. Super fasting, which is what we've come up with in our What the Fast book. Advanced fasting, which we're just going to park for now because that's more the high clinical end. What you do, you've just got to find something that works for you. There's no gold standard. This works better than that. It's a very, very individual thing. And for people who have never fasted before, number one, go on a low-carb diet, because once the body gets habitually used to using its own fat as fuel, when you then miss a meal, it's neither here nor there. You don't get hungry. So you can fat adapt yourself and then start off really slowly and on low levels. So 12-hour fast. You might think that sounds ridiculous, from 8 in the morning, 8 at night till 8 in the morning. It's like, well, everyone does that. No. Everyone eats late at night, everyone gets up early and eats early, so the fasting window has gotten shorter over the years. So you could start off with 12-hour fast and then progress that to a 16-8, where you compress your eating window to 8 hours. In other words, skip breakfast, just do lunch, dinner, end of story. When
you study populations, the median time that people have between their last feed at night and their first feed in the morning is 7 hours.
Yeah, interesting.
So that's what at least half the population has, that or less. And the shortest were 4 hours.
Yeah, what I love about fasting, particularly when my clients when I talk to my clients about fasting, it's all about spending less money on food, having less time in the kitchen, and spending more time doing what you want to do. So it's a bit of a no-brainer to some extent. So some bottom lines are really this: start low and go slow. I can't emphasize that enough. because anyone, particularly females who make very substantial and quick changes to their diet, the side effects might not be, might not be desirable. So really do things gradually and build up once you get used to it. Partner your fasting with eating good quality food. That whole eat whatever you want is just ridiculous, really. Be very clear on your purpose and your outcome. Why are you fasting? Are you doing it for weight loss? Are you doing it for health outcomes, or both? If you're doing it for weight loss, the biggest thing is if you miss one meal in a day, don't then put the calories in the other 2 meals that you're having. It's about restricting calories in a way that is most practical. Choose the right protocol. Sustainable behaviors give you sustainable results. So if you choose to miss breakfast 2 days a week, and that works for you, be prepared to do that in 5 years' time. Because whatever you do now, if it works for you and you stop doing it, you're going to revert. So it's all about sustainability in your choices.